All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this next installment of our webinar series. My name's Hillel Charm. I'm the account manager with Law Ruler. I'm also joined by our head of product, Dan Jacobs. He's going to be one of our panelists. And today we're going to be talking about an extremely important topic, and that is making data-backed decisions for your law firm. So just before we get started, obviously all of Law Ruler's products are built on the most secure, trusted platform out there, which is Microsoft Azure. It's used by more than 90% of Fortune 500 companies. You can always count on us for being secure and reliable. So when it comes to making data-based decisions, really what every firm needs to ask themselves is, what is their current approach? Meaning, are you making gut-based decisions? And what I mean by that is, here's an example. Let's say a firm spent $5,000 last month on their Google PPC campaign. So, they got 7 cases. So the firm is just going to go ahead and spend $5,000 this month, hoping that they'll get 7 cases. So that's, kind of making a gut feeling based decision. We may know something, intellectually, but we really don't have the data to back it up. And ultimately, what that can result in is making not fully informed decisions for your firm. So something that every firm needs to ask themselves is, how are we making our decisions? Are they being backed by data to back all those decisions up? Let's say we have the data. Are we actually analyzing that in order to make these decisions? And are we using this data in order to protect our firm in the future and also, move and make movements when, we're able to maximize the result? So the very famous American management guru, Peter Drucker, used to say, what gets measured gets managed. So what he meant by that is that in order to really improve and in order to really make processes work, we have to actually have accurate data. So in order to, make anything work, in order to complete anything for our firm, in order to grow and to improve our processes, we really need to have a good understanding of those processes before we're able to make any improvements. So that's what he meant when he said, what gets measured gets managed. So that takes us into what actually are KPIs. So KPIs, or key performance indicators, they allow firms to measure success against key business objectives. So what does that mean? It means that as a firm, we always set objectives for our business. Just like any business, we need to be able to, have a measurable metric for success. And so are we using the right technology in order to present us with this information and make those decisions? So making this business decision making with KPIs can be kind of related back to a simple metaphor. So think of a vehicle. Just like a law firm, vehicles have lots of moving parts. They really all need to move in tandem. And we, as the operator of that vehicle, really expect that any, measurements and any sensors and really any information that that car is able to produce is presented to us in a way that, it's able for us to really easily digest that information and, take action when necessary. So for example, nobody expects to have to pull over every 500 miles to check their oil to make sure that their oil works. We have an oil sensor in our car, and that's so that we can, make that decision when necessary and don't have to stop what we're doing and, constantly look at the mechanics of our firm in order to make sure things are functioning properly. We really need a system that's able to present this to us in a meaningful way so that we're able to make those decisions. And furthermore, it's really critical to create these key performance indicators so that we are able to then measure them and then make those right decisions for our firm. So some daily questions we should really always ask ourselves when, we're trying to develop these types of indicators is the report data that we need, is it actually available? Meaning, are we tracking our key performance indicators? Are we tracking all the different data that we need in our firm to be able to make those decisions? So even if we are tracking it, is that information able to be easily combined into a single place to make it digestible and understandable? Meaning that, okay, we're tracking lots of different information, but if it's in all different disparate, different sources all across our law firm, that's really useless because we really need it all combined in one place so that a key decision maker can easily look at it and understand it and be able to make that decision. And then what processes do we have in place to follow up on that decision with our firm? Are we able to then, once we make a data back decision, are we able to now track that and follow up and make sure that, that decision is panning out? And if, things need to be changed and adjusted, we're able to actually see that and make those adjustments in real time. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to pull up our Ruler Sonar demo dashboard. This is a demo system so that we can show you kind of what the different KPIs and different indicators and data that we would need to be able to show this in our system. So just stand by 1 second and I'll go ahead and pull that up. All right, so what we're looking at right here is the Ruler dashboard. This is our standard dashboard. Right now it's made up of these 9 unique tiles or 9 unique reports. And what the system does is it takes all of these tiles and all of these key performance indicators and it distills them to one easy to view, easy to see screen. And now from here we can always dive down into this data. Oh, I'm sorry. We can always dive down into this data so that we can make better decisions. So for example, maybe we want to see all of our new leads. And again, we can always look, by changing the different filters on our report, we can see different information. So, when it comes to, analyzing our marketing information, which is really so critical to a firm, we would definitely want to see how much we're spending on any given time. And then furthermore, we can always explore this data and get some additional insights so that we can make these better informed decisions. So, it's one thing to see how much we're spending. It's something completely different to see how much we're spending over time, year over year, month over month. And then furthermore, breaking down those different sources and different resources into seeing where my dollars are being spent, most effectively. So where am I getting the most bang for my buck? So for example, we can look at our marketing spend. We can then look at our different marketing sources and we can see really where all of our cases are coming from. And so that allows us to really aim where we want our marketing dollars spent. But then furthermore, we also need to really see, I see I'm getting a lot of leads in from a particular source. It's not really costing me that much, but are these actual worthwhile leads? Maybe, extremely high percentage of those leads coming from that source are being rejected or are not being able to be handled by the firm. Maybe if we spent, a little bit more money on a different source that's not as performing as high in terms of volume, maybe that will result in, better quality leads, and that ultimately will turn into more revenue for the firm. So, we definitely want to be able to break down our different leads by source and see what's performing. Same thing with our different practice areas. So for example, as a firm, we may be focusing on auto accidents. We're generating a lot of volume with our auto accidents. But when we dig into the data, we see that maybe a different case type, if we just focused a little bit on that case type and brought in, 1 or 2 more cases, that may result in a lot more revenue from the firm as opposed to being very high volume in a different practice area. So having the metrics and having the data to be able to analyze this information and see really what's performing well is really going to be totally critical. The same thing for our case management and for our referral partners. Maybe we want to see which partners we're working with are sending us the highest quality referrals and so on and so forth. And then that way we really know which relationships as a law firm we need to focus on. And then, again, productivity is so critical in this day and age, especially with everybody working remotely. It's very difficult to have a floor manager walk around the floor, see what your intake staff are doing, see what your paralegals are doing. We really have to rely on a system that's able to track that information and present it to us in a meaningful way. So that's why we have, the ability to track employee productivity in our system is also critically important. So for example, I can dive into my different milestones. I could see that, perhaps I have one staff member that's performing better than another staff member. And so, for example, I have one user, they have 400 and so leads, but they also have 400 and so open tasks. Maybe I have another employee who maybe doesn't have quite as heavy a caseload, but is able to perform and complete their work a lot quicker and more efficiently. So I know that as a manager, I should really be moving, some of my caseload to, someone who's performing better. So I really know how to properly deploy my human resources in my firm in a way that I may not have had before. So not only with people working remotely do we have a system that's able to kind of track and make sure that they're doing what they need to do, but just from the firm's perspective as a whole, we need to be able to just make sure that we're progressing through our dockets and our caseload and not just letting stuff sit. So, for example, if this was our firm, and we saw that there were 367 cases that haven't started and there's only 70 in progress, would be really distressing for me as a manager. And I would want to look at this and kind of dive down and see, why are so many of these things, why have so many of them not really begun? And so again, this really gives you a lot of that insight into what you need to be able to properly manage your firm. So that, kind of comes back to the solution, which is our Ruler Sonar custom dashboard. So we aim to have this dashboard available for all of our clients in early November. Anybody with admin or reports rights will be able to use it. We can customize the dashboards for specific practice areas. So for example, if it's, one practice area, a mass tort versus a single event, we can have different metrics that are presented to us in our dashboard so that, again, we're seeing something meaningful, not just a bunch of data being displayed to us. And then if there's any custom data points that need to be measured or custom KPIs that need to be put together, we can absolutely work with any firm to be able to produce something unique and custom to their site so that they're able to meet those unique needs. Law Ruler is going to be a paid add-on feature. However, we are releasing it as a 30-day free trial for all of our existing clients. So anybody that wants to use this functionality, it will be available for 30 days. And you'll be able to see if it works for your firm. At this point, I'm just going to open up the floor to any questions. So if anybody does, have any questions that need to be addressed, feel free to submit your questions in the Zoom webinar QA box. And, Dan or any of the other, myself and any of the panelists will answer those. Great question. So obviously, how much does this cost? So the cost is going to be dependent on the number of users at the firm. If you want to reach out to our sales department, they can give you specific numbers on, the actual cost for your firm. Are there any other questions? Great. Well, I just want to say thank you very much to all of you for joining us on our webinar. If you have any questions, you can always check out our support forum at support.lawruler.com. You can also reach out to our support team if you do have any questions on anything you saw at support@lawruler.com. And I just want to say stay tuned for our next webinar that's going to be coming up, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you all very much.